Last Monday, 11-year-old Aaron walked into my studio and announced, "I'm going to explode." His fists were clenched, his face was red, and his whole body was vibrating with what looked like pure rage. His mother, trailing behind him, looked exhausted. He had a meltdown this morning because his sister used his favorite cup. A cup. He screamed for 45 minutes. I don't understand. He's such a sweet kid most of the time, but when he gets angry, it's like he's possessed. I see kids like Aaron every week. Children whose emotions are so big, so overwhelming, that they don't know what to do with them. The feelings take over their bodies and minds, and they end up doing things they later regret. Screaming, hitting, breaking things, saying cruel words. Then they feel ashamed, which makes them even more vulnerable to the next emotional wave. As a dance movement therapy facilitator, I don't see these kids as bad or out of control. I see them as children who never learned the language of emotions, how to recognize them in their body, how to express them safely, and how to ride the wave until it passes. Dance movement therapy teaches them this language, and once they learn it, everything changes. Why kids' emotions feel so overwhelming? If you've ever been around a toddler having a tantrum, you've seen emotional overwhelm in its purest form. The feeling is so big that it consumes their entire world. They can't think, can't reason, can't hear your words. Their body is flooded with emotion, and they don't yet have the tools to manage it. Most kids gradually learn emotional regulation through experience and guidance. They learn that frustration is temporary, that disappointment passes, that anger doesn't last forever. They develop coping strategies like taking deep breaths, counting to 10, walking away. But some kids don't develop these skills naturally. Maybe they're neurodivergent and their nervous systems are more sensitive. Maybe they've experienced trauma that keeps their threat detection system on high alert. Or maybe they just never had anyone teach them how emotions live in the body and how to work with them. These kids get labeled as dramatic, overly sensitive, explosive, or difficult. They're punished for behaviors they can't control, which makes them feel worse, which makes the behaviors more frequent. It's a vicious cycle. Traditional approaches often focus on the thinking brain. Use your words. Think before you act. Remember your coping strategies. But when a child is emotionally flooded, their thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, essentially goes offline. The emotional brain, the amygdala, has taken over. You can't think your way out of an emotion that's taken over your body. You have to move your way through it. That's where dance movement therapy comes in. It works directly with the body, where emotions live, rather than trying to bypass the body and go straight to the mind. Aaron's story, from explosions to expression. When Aaron told me he was going to explode, I didn't try to calm him down or talk him out of his anger. Instead, I said, "Show me. Show me what exploding looks like." He looked surprised. Usually adults tell him to stop, to calm down, to control himself. I was giving him permission to express what he was feeling. He started stomping his feet, hard, then punching the air, then spinning in circles with his arms flailing. He made loud, angry sounds. He moved like a tornado, chaotic and powerful. I stayed nearby, not interfering, just witnessing. "Keep going," I said. "Let it all out. Your body needs to move this feeling." For about 5 minutes, he moved with pure, unfiltered anger. Then, gradually, his movements began to slow. The stomping became stepping. The punching became pushing. The spinning became swaying. Finally, he stood still, breathing hard, sweat on his forehead. "I feel quieter," he said. "That's because you let the anger move through you instead of trying to hold it in. When we hold big feelings in, they build up pressure. When we let them move, they can flow through and out." We talked about how anger feels in his body: tight chest, clenched fists, hot face, fast heartbeat. I gave him a simple tool. When you notice those feelings starting, before they get too big, you can stomp your feet 5 times, or punch a pillow, or push against the wall. Give the anger a safe way to move. Over the next few weeks, Aaron practiced anger moves at home. When he felt frustration building, he'd go to his room and stomp or punch his pillow. His meltdowns decreased from several per week to 1 or 2 per month. And when they did happen, they were shorter and less intense. His mother reported that he was even teaching his younger sister, "When you're mad, don't hit people. Hit your pillow. I learned it in therapy." Sital's story, the girl who couldn't name her feelings. Sital was 14 and had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. She came to me because she had trouble identifying what she was feeling. She'd say, "I feel bad," but couldn't specify whether she was sad, scared, angry, lonely, or something else. This inability to name emotions is called alexithymia, and it's surprisingly common in teens struggling with mental health issues. When I asked her how bad felt in her body, she looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, where do you feel it? In your chest, your stomach, your head? Does it feel heavy, tight, empty?" She thought for a moment. "My chest feels heavy and my throat feels tight, like I can't breathe." "Okay," I said, "let's work with that. Can you show me what heavy chest looks like in movement?" She curled forward, her shoulders rolling in, her head dropping down. She moved slowly, as if carrying a weight. "And what about tight throat?" She brought her hands to her throat, then moved them outward, as if trying to pull something open. We explored these movements for a while. Then I asked, "What does your body want to do to feel better?" She thought about it, then slowly started to roll her shoulders back. She lifted her head. She took deep breaths while raising her arms up, then exhaling while bringing them down. "How does that feel?" "The weight is lighter. I can breathe easier." This was the beginning of Sital building her emotional vocabulary. We created a movement dictionary together. For each emotion, we identified how it felt in her body and what movement helped. Sadness, heavy, slow, collapsed. The antidote? Gentle swaying, rocking, wrapping arms around herself. Anxiety? Jittery, fast, scattered. The antidote? Pressing feet firmly into the ground, taking slow steps, finding a steady rhythm. Anger? Hot, tight, explosive. The antidote? Stomping, punching pillows, pushing against resistance. Loneliness? Empty, small, contracted. The antidote? Reaching out arms, expanding the chest, making big and open movements. Over time, Sital learned to check in with her body when she felt bad. She'd notice the physical sensations and identify the emotion. Then she could choose the appropriate movement tool. This gave her a sense of control she'd never had before. Her depression and anxiety didn't disappear overnight, but she had tools to manage them. She told me, "I used to feel like my emotions controlled me. Now I feel like we can work together. I still feel them, but they don't scare me as much."
Raul's story, the boy who was numb. Raul was 12 and had experienced trauma that he didn't want to talk about. When I asked him how he felt, he'd say, "fine," or "nothing." But his body told a different story. He moved like a robot, stiff, controlled, with no variation in his movements. His face was expressionless. He'd dissociated from his body as a way to protect himself from overwhelming feelings. Traditional talk therapy wasn't working because he couldn't access his emotions through words. They were locked in his body. Dance movement therapy gave us a way to reach them. We started with the smallest possible movements. "Can you wiggle just your pinky finger?" I'd ask. "Can you blink slowly 3 times?" Can you take a breath that's just a tiny bit deeper than the last one? These micro movements helped him reconnect with his body without overwhelming him. They were safe because they were so small, but they were also revolutionary because they were choices, his body moving intentionally for the first time in years. Gradually, we increased the movements. We explored different qualities, slow and fast, big and small, smooth and sharp, heavy and light. Each quality connected to a different emotional state. When we worked with sharp movements, quick, direct, angular, Raul's body responded. He made chopping motions, jabbing gestures. His face changed. He looked angry. "What's happening?" I asked gently. "I don't know," he said, but his movements kept getting sharper, more aggressive. "Can you name it? Give it a word." "Unfair," he whispered. "Everything is unfair." That was the breakthrough. The anger he'd been suppressing for years was finally finding expression. We spent several sessions working with unfair movements, letting his body express all the injustice, the powerlessness, the rage. After these sessions, he'd feel exhausted but lighter. "It's like something heavy is gone," he said. We also worked with gentle movements, soft, flowing, circular. These accessed a different part of him, the part that needed comfort and care. He learned to rock himself, to sway, to make soothing hand movements on his arms and face. "I can take care of myself," he realized. "When I feel bad, I don't have to just freeze. I can move in ways that make me feel better." This is the heart of emotional regulation, having a range of movement tools for different emotional states. Not just one technique, but a whole toolbox. The 4 movement tools every kid needs. Through my work with hundreds of children and teens, I've identified 4 essential movement tools that help with emotional regulation. I teach these to every child I work with. 1. The grounding tool for anxiety and overwhelm. When emotions feel too big and chaotic, grounding movements help kids feel stable and safe. This includes pressing feet firmly into the floor, taking heavy steps, sitting or lying down and feeling the support of the ground, and making slow downward movements. I teach kids to become a tree, feet rooted, arms as branches, swaying gently but staying connected to the earth. This metaphor helps them remember the feeling of stability. 2. The release tool for anger and frustration. When emotions build up pressure, release movements let the steam out safely. This includes stomping, punching pillows, pushing against walls, shaking the whole body, and making loud sounds. I call this letting the volcano erupt in a safe place. We practice it in the studio so kids know they have permission to express these feelings without hurting anyone or anything. 3. The soothing tool for sadness and hurt. When emotions feel painful and raw, soothing movements provide comfort. This includes rocking, swaying, gentle self-hugging, making soft circular movements on the body, and breathing slowly while making expanding movements. I teach kids to rock yourself like a baby or give yourself a hug. These movements activate the body's self-soothing response and release oxytocin, the comfort hormone. 4. The energizing tool for numbness and shutdown. When emotions feel distant and the body feels frozen, energizing movements help kids reconnect. This includes jumping, spinning, shaking, making big, expansive movements, and moving to upbeat music. I call this waking up your body. It's especially helpful for kids who dissociate or are shut down when overwhelmed.
I worked with a 16-year-old named Priya who had severe anxiety that led to panic attacks. She'd be fine one moment, then suddenly in full panic the next. She couldn't identify any warning signs. In our sessions, we did emotion tracking. I'd have her think about something that made her slightly anxious and notice what happened in her body. At first, she couldn't feel anything. But with practice, she started to notice subtle sensations, a slight tightness in her chest, a flutter in her stomach, her breathing getting a little bit faster. That's your early warning system, I told her. When you notice those feelings, you can use your grounding tool before the panic gets big. She practiced this daily. When she noticed the early signs, she'd press her feet into the floor and take 3 slow breaths while raising and lowering her arms. This simple intervention prevented many panic attacks from escalating. I used to feel like my anxiety came out of nowhere. Now I can feel it building and I know what to do. I feel so much more in control.
From emotional dysregulation to emotional intelligence. The goal of dance movement therapy isn't to eliminate difficult emotions. It's to develop emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions in healthy ways. Kids who go through DMT don't stop feeling angry, sad, anxious, or frustrated, but they stop being afraid of these feelings. They know what the feelings are, where they live in their bodies, and how to work with them. They develop what I call emotional fluency, the ability to read their body's signals, name their emotions accurately, and respond appropriately. This is one of the most valuable life skills a person can have. I recently ran into a former client, Aaron, at a community event. He's now 15. He saw me and came over to say hello. I still use those tools you taught me. I had a really frustrating day at school yesterday. My group project partners weren't doing their work. I could feel myself getting really angry, but I noticed my fists clenching and I remembered, oh, that's anger. So I went to the bathroom and did my stomping routine. Then I could talk to them without yelling. I was so proud I could have cried. This is what it's all about. He didn't need me anymore. He had a relationship with his body and his emotions that would serve him for the rest of his life. What parents can do at home. If your child struggles with emotional regulation, here are some DMT-inspired practices you can try at home. Create a feelings corner. Designate a space where your child can go to move through big emotions. Put a pillow there for punching, a yoga mat for stomping, and maybe some music they can move to. Give them permission to use it whenever they need to. Name and move. When your child is experiencing an emotion, help them name it and find a movement. I see you're angry. Can you show me what angry looks like in your body? Can we stomp it out together? This validates their feeling and gives it a healthy outlet. Body check-ins. Several times a day, pause and do a quick body check-in. What are you feeling in your body right now? Tight, loose, heavy, light? Where do you feel it? This builds body awareness over time. Model emotional movement. Let your kids see you moving through your emotions. When you're frustrated, say, I'm feeling frustrated, so I'm going to shake it out. When you're sad, say, I'm feeling sad, so I'm going to rock myself for a minute. This normalizes emotional expression through movement. Celebrate all emotions. Don't just make space for negative emotions. Celebrate joy, excitement, pride. Dance when you're happy. Jump up and down when you're excited. Make big, expansive movements when you're proud. This teaches kids that all emotions are welcome and can be expressed through movement. The science of emotional regulation through movement. Research consistently shows that dance movement therapy is effective for improving emotional regulation in children and adolescents. A 2024 study found that DMT significantly enhanced emotional regulation, reduced behavioral difficulties, and improved overall well-being in children aged 8 to 11 with anxiety symptoms. The movement-based approach was particularly effective because it met children at their developmental level, using play and body-based interventions rather than cognitive approaches they weren't ready for. Another study focused on children with ADHD found that DMT improved emotional regulation and interpersonal relationships. The rhythmic movement and body awareness components helped children identify early signs of emotional dysregulation and use movement strategies to self-soothe. Research also shows that DMT increases interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense what's happening inside your body. This is crucial for emotional regulation because emotions are, first and foremost, bodily experiences. When kids can read their body's signals, they can respond earlier and more effectively. One fascinating study used fMRI scans to show that after DMT intervention, children showed increased connectivity between brain regions involved in emotional processing and self-regulation. Their brains were literally rewiring themselves toward better emotional control. Every emotion is welcome here. If I could give one message to every child who struggles with big emotions, it would be this: your feelings are not your enemies. They're messengers trying to tell you something important. And your body is wise. It knows how to handle them if you give it a chance. Anger is trying to protect you from injustice. Sadness is helping you grieve what you've lost. Anxiety is trying to keep you safe. Fear is alerting you to danger. Even shame is trying to help you maintain connection by correcting behavior that might push others away. The problem isn't the emotions themselves. It's that we never learned how to listen to them, how to work with them, how to let them move through us instead of getting stuck inside us. Dance movement therapy teaches kids that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. They come, they bring a message, they move through. Our job is to create the conditions for them to move. Aaron, the boy who was going to explode, now knows how to let his anger move through him safely. Sheetal, the girl who couldn't name her feelings, now has a movement dictionary for every emotion. Raul, the boy who was numb, now feels the full range of human emotion and knows how to care for himself through it all. These kids aren't cured, they're equipped. They have a relationship with their emotions that will serve them for the rest of their lives. If your child is struggling with emotional regulation, consider dance movement therapy. Look for a certified therapist who specializes in working with children. Many schools are starting to incorporate DMT into their counseling services. Some insurance plans now cover it. Your child's emotions aren't too big. Their body isn't broken. They just need the right tools and guidance to learn what their body already knows how to do. The dance of emotional regulation is waiting, and your child is ready to learn the steps.